Hello, my name is Dr. Sidney Freeman Jr., and this is Communiversity. I am the president and founder of the Liberation Movement, and one of our goals is to ensure that we empower young people through educational initiatives, particularly African Americans. And we are excited about this new initiative that specifically targets young adults and gives them the tools to be effective in their personal lives. One of the things that I have experienced is uh, certain challenges with knowing certain skills that I was supposed to know as an adult. So, for instance, how to purchase a car. Um, how do I navigate getting a house? What is that process like? And so, and many others. There's just assumptions that that information is passed down from our parents, and sometimes some things fall through the cracks. Well, we're here to shore up those cracks in this program. And so we have here Dr. Richard White, who is the managing partner of RM White CPA. He has over 20 years of experience serving in the areas of accounting and tax planning and preparation. And we are so glad that he is here with us to share some insights with us regarding financial planning. So with that, we ask Dr. White to unmute and talk with us.
Good morning, Dr. Freeman. It's a pleasure to be here. Pleasure to be a part of this organization, and I'm so excited to share anything I know to this community.
Well, thank you so much for being with us. And so one of our first questions that we have is, let's say I am a young person that is taking a gap year from in between high school and college, or may not even be deciding to go to college, but they have they're starting a job, and they're being told that they need to save money. They're being told to kind of position themselves for that next step. So could you talk to us about what are some things they need to be thinking about regarding saving money?
Yeah, well, saving money should be one of the cornerstones of what they're doing. I would say anywhere between 5 to 10% of their gross income each week or every 2 weeks, they should try to put aside. Now, the trick is do not put it in your checking account, put it in the savings account. And even better yet, if you could put it in another bank, sometimes you get that job, they ask you if you want to split your salary. Well, take that 10% and put it in that other bank and just pretend like you didn't get paid. And don't worry about it until emergencies. You should have about 3 months of your salary put aside just in case of an emergency. So that's your first target goal. So that's a strategy I would use. Try to get it off in another area that you don't see.
So you said gross. So for the audience that may not know what your gross is, okay, could you explain that really quickly?
Sure. Your gross is the first dollar value on your pay stub that you get. So if, say, for instance, they're paying you $60,000 a year, that means I get $5,000 a month. Well, the gross is the 5,000, and the 10% comes off that, the 500 and 5%, 250. Your net is after you take out taxes, benefits, and so forth and so on. You get down to a lower number, obviously. It might be 3,500, 3,007. Do not take from that number. Take from the top number, which is the gross, the 5,000.
Wonderful. So with that, I've heard people say as I was growing up that you need to have a budget. You need to stick to a budget. Mm-hmm. Could you talk to us about the importance of sticking to a budget, but how do you actually do that?
Right. Well, for us accountant, we say cash is liquid. And what it means, it flows like water. And if you don't, put it in a bottle or a container, it'll go all over the place. That's literally what money is. It's liquid. So a budget, as of today, is the only instrument that can put it in that bucket or that container. And a budget really says, hey, money, I'm going to tell you what you're going to do for me, not what the money is telling you what you're going to do. So you're now managing that finance, that cash, or whatever it is. It doesn't matter if you get 100,000, 50,000, or $1. You need to budget. You need to literally put it in that box or put it in that bottle to manage it. And so that's really in a context what a budget is.
So with that, one of the things that that I'm often hearing is that you need to build credit. So I give you my experience that I was told by my parents to, don't get into credit card debt. Don't get a credit card. And so it was only until probably like my senior year where I was dating my then girlfriend, now wife, that said, no, you need to build your credit. You need to maybe get a credit card at Walmart, since you go there and you're using it more frequently to help you build your credit. Could you talk about the importance of building your credit?
Sure.
And how to kind of manage that process at the beginning of the time in which you're transitioning into your adulthood?
Excellent question. Building a credit is important. And one of the simplest way to get into it is that credit card item. Now, remember, credit, you earn credit. So it's like someone lending you money, and if you don't pay them back in time or pay them back with a loan, you lose that credibility. And that's what really diminishes your credit points. So building credit, you range. One of the key things that is used is what's called your credit score. Someone you have heard of that, can range from 350 to 850. Obviously, 850 is superb, 350 is below. And you want to get somewhere between 680, 700. You're starting to get in the good area. You build it by taking out that credit card, charging something, paid off. Taking it out, charge it, paid off. Now, the other concept with building credit, it doesn't really matter whether you owe $100,000 or $10. If someone owes $100,000 and pay that minimum or more than the minimum on time, they're building credit. But if someone owes $10 and does not pay it on time, they're losing credit. So credit, don't look about the dollar value, just look about your consistency to pay back that creditor that loan you, because you're in debt to them. And then other creditors will say, hey, this guy or this gal really, I've been paying back bank A. So now I can trust him. And so now you build trust. And so therefore that other bank can lend you. And that's how you build credit. Building credit is important because it moves into, you purchase a car or you purchase a home. It affects interest rate. So a bad credit, you get a high interest rate because they don't trust you. So they're saying, I'm going to take most of my money from you in the beginning. That's what interest rate does when they don't trust you. But if they do trust you, say, you know what, this guy will pay me off over the next 5-10 years so I can lower my rate. My risk is not that high with him or her, so I'll charge them less. And so if you get a better rate on whatever you purchase in the future. I must add another piece to this with credit. Sometimes folks confuse, you mentioned your parents said don't get credit and so forth. That's confusing with business. In business, you want credit. You want to take on as much debt as you want in business. Use other people's money. You ever heard about that, OPM?
Yes.
We're trying to use your money in business. Use other people's money and grow your business. But when it comes to your personal side, manage your credit. Keep that minimum as you can just to build the numbers. And as I said, $10, $100 is not about the number. It's about your credit worthiness with that creditor.
Could you talk a little bit about how you balance the different credits that you have? So for instance, how many credit cards should someone someone that's just coming out of college, they're looking, they may have student loans that they're concerned about. They need to get an apartment. Their parents are not necessarily in the position to underwrite that. They have a car that they're paying for. Do they need to have 3 cards? Do they need to have 2 cards? How do you manage that process if you can't go to your parents and ask them how to navigate that?
Well, the first thing, never, ever, ever, and I said it 3 times, right? Take out a department store card, right? That's literally a trap. It actually saying to you, come back to me, and give me exclusively your dollar. That's number one. A gas card almost fall in the same category. Try never to take out a gas card, okay? You want to take a card out that, one, you can have certain points or you gain some credits from them and so forth. And those cards, some Visa, MasterCard. But what you also need to understand with taking these cards out, try as much as you can to take out one with a better interest rate. And don't really take out more than 2, maybe 3 if you need that much, and just build your credit over that. Try not to use them. You try to use them in a sense of emergencies. When you travel, I would say use cards when you travel, because the benefit of that is a debit card, if there's a charge on it, it's harder to get it reversed. It's hard to dispute it. But when you have a credit card, you can charge, and some of them carry insurance, like American Express carry certain insurance when you travel. So if you can get American Express, if you can, if not, do get a Visa and so forth. So 2 credit cards, that's fine coming out of school. I wouldn't get any more than that, to be honest with you. And build your credit, and your next large purchase would either be your home or automobile. And we can talk about that, which comes first, because it's very critical for what you're going to do if you accumulate that saving, have that credit score in the 700s. How do you move forward to build wealth? Because the goal is to actually build wealth and become financially independent, not to be a debt burden on the society and your family.
And I want to get to that right after this. Interest rate. You talked about interest rate. Could you explain that to this audience, what an interest rate is?
An interest rate is the money the lender charges on you over time to lend you money. So what they're saying, the value of a dollar yesterday is worth less than the value of a dollar tomorrow. And so I need to recoup that value that I'm losing. That's number one. The interest is also charged because opportunity cost. If I loan you $1 today, I'm losing the opportunity of using that money tomorrow.
Right.
So because of that, I'm going to charge you. So a loaf of bread 5 years ago I'm just hypothetically here, cost $1, right? 5 years from now is $1.50. Yeah. So that dollar is not really worth $1. So I have to charge you interest to keep up with pace of inflation, changes in the market, and so forth. And that's why they charge that interest rate. And of course, again, if you are a good creditor, they don't hit you that hard. But if you're not, they're like, hey, I'm going to charge you higher, because on an interest rate, the first set of money that you pay, most of it goes towards the interest. Right. And less goes towards the principal. So they're trying to recover as much of their money earlier for you not to default. And while the other way, it's a little bit lower because you're not that risk factor to them. You're not that high risk.
And so what is a low interest rate? So for someone, so is it 3%? Is it 20%? How
a good marker is the prime rate. So whatever the prime rate is going, half a point or a point over that is a good interest rate. And so that's where you can make a first marker. Believe it or not, some items you can purchase with no interest. If your credit is good, they will give you a car with no interest, because guess why? And I hate to say this, but this is the reality. They won't charge you any interest because you're a good creditor. But the other guy that steps inside that's not a good creditor, they're going to charge you his interest rate and your interest rate that they should have charged you. So the other guy is paying twice. He's paying for you who didn't pay, and himself or herself. So that's the challenge. Then. So anything over prime, whatever the prime rate is, and you hear it goes up and down, you follow that, a point or half a point is really a pretty decent interest rate. The other piece, interest rates on car versus a home differs. And I take 5 seconds quickly to explain that. So on a home, you most likely will pay a lower interest rate than on a car. However, you'll pay a high interest rate on credit cards. So if you want to do a step ladder, the credit card is higher, then the car is about here, and then the home is about here in interest rate. You really don't want that.
So thank you for sharing that. And you said prime interest. Yes. Could you explain that really quick?
Sure. So the interest rate, the federal government sets these interest rate. You hear it sometime they're going to change the interest rate. The Senate, not Senate. I mean the person in charge of finance is going to change. That's what we're talking about. Whatever that interest rate, and it actually bolsters how the economy works. So is a rate in which the reserve is willing to lend banks money. So they'll say, okay, I'm willing to lend 2% on the money. And the banks, okay, I'm paying back 2% to the government. So now I can charge you 3%. So I make my 1 point. And so everything falls underneath that category. You'll never find, or very seldom, you'll ever find a bank giving you less than the prime. Again, if your credit is good, they will do that, take the risk and take it from the other person, as I said earlier. But those rates are set by the reserve. And then after that, banks add to it. And this is the rate that the reserve charged the bank on lending money to them.
Thank you for explaining that. That's really helpful. I want to go back to something you were mentioning earlier about kind of in that transition. Young people are some people are not are in a position where their parents may not have come from means, and they are not coming from means,
Sure.
and so they're feeling the pressure to support their family as they are positioning themselves for their future.
Right.
One of the things that our family has talked about is an emergency fund. Could you talk about how to navigate that transition of setting yourself up for success financially, as you also have feelings of responsibility to your family?
It's an excellent question. And I may be at this point, folks might disagree with me, but I've been doing this for quite a while. The quicker you can move away from the family of supporting them, the family that you're leading is the best for you. Most time from a cultural context, there's obligations. There's also from your parents tie you to certain responsibility for your other siblings. And what happens, that dollar that you were supposed to get to make yourself independent, you're finding that you're now supporting 2 homes.
Yeah.
While income was meant to support 1 home. If I may say this, first of all, take care of yourself. And if you have the leftover or the reserve, don't feel obligated at no way to give more than what you can. Because time is of the essence. I'm going to stress this. If you consistently split your money over time, it takes long for you to get wealthy. And all you're doing is continuing generational poverty. I'll say that again. If you have to look after 2 or 3 families, you're just in the cycle of continued generational poverty. Put yourself in a position that you can help others, but do not diminish yourself at the same time, because it will just be a cycle, and you'll pass that on to your kids. And that's what generational poverty actually works.
So could you talk about an emergency fund? Is that something that families or a young person, should they be thinking about an emergency fund?
Yeah, at least 3 months of your gross salary. So if you make $5,000 a month, you need to have about $15,000 put away somewhere that you don't even think about trying to touch. I know it's difficult in American society, so that's the rule of thumb. But I would say to you, even if you have a month put aside, be happy and just keep moving towards that goal. It's not about the quantity, it's the behavior that you're establishing. And again, if you come from a family that behavior wasn't there, you're actually learning that bad behavior. And so to learn the new behavior, you might can put away $100, but put away $1, $10, and get the rhythm. It's about getting that rhythm. And eventually you find yourself putting away $100 and $200 every month or so on. Delayed gratification is a very key element. They might see things that I'm so happy I'm working now, I can buy this, buy them. Well, think. I have the motto that if I go to purchase something of a high dollar value, I come back in 24, 48 hours. If it's still there, then I'll make the move. But if not, I'm not going to buy under pressure. Car dealers love to sell you under pressure. So come up with a rule of thumb. I would strongly recommend you use that I use. I put it on ice for 24, 48 hours and think about what you're actually doing. even if you have the cash to buy it.
Mm-hmm.
Just think about it. And sometimes you make a decision, I really don't need that.
Yeah. 48-hour rule that we're going to notate that. One of the major challenges for young adults is paying off student loans.
Right.
I know we've talked about how you pay off credit cards. Could you talk about how to navigate paying off student loans while you're balancing these new
Sure.
things, like maybe getting a house or getting a car?
Two quick things about student loans. I'm not averse to taking them out because it's one of the vehicles that help certain kids come out of certain economical brackets, right? So it's an investment. A student loan is an investment. It's not a debt. It's investing in your education and for your financial future. That number one. How do you get out? Student loan is one of the only loans that actually do not get discharged in bankruptcy. Okay,
right.
So if you're stuck with it, you're going to have to pay it. All right. Number two, you can negotiate. There are several vehicles out there. If your income cannot meet the required minimum payment, there's several vehicles out there like income-driven approach that they target the payment tag with your money you make to pay the payment. But I'll say this: do not lag behind in your student loans. That's number one, because it's a bad effect. It's one of the worst effects on your credit score, almost as bad as a house, I think. Okay, so you want to negotiate, you want to keep it on track. You want to work with them. The next thing about student loan, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. 10, 15 years, just make the minimum payment or make what you can. But do not try to rush paying it off and delay buying a home. Never do that. Never do that. Pay the minimum, accumulate cash, buy your home. A home accumulates wealth. So the longer you may try to speed up the student loan payoff, you're just saying to yourself, I'm delaying my wealth building vehicle, which is a home. So you pay them the minimum, it's already incurred. You give them as least as you can, but build that reserve up. Buy the home, because look at this. You may buy the home in 5 years from now, you grow equity of $50,000, $60,000, or $100,000, and you have a $20,000 student loan. You can take out against equity or sell the home.
Right.
The third one, pay off the student loan. So you actually use other people's money or the interest rate or over time in the building of the equity of the home to pay off the student loan, and you didn't use your hard-earned income to pay off the student loan. That's why I say to you, don't rush it. Get a home, build equity, build wealth, and you move forward.
So you've been talking about investing. I'm hearing investing, and so as a young student, I would hear about investing in the stock market, investing. Could you talk about the importance of it, and if people would like to invest, how could they get started?
Right, sure. Investing, when we hear investing, the most people think about stock market and securities and bonds, which is fine. But there's so many other vehicles to invest in. You can invest in commodities, you can invest in a business, you can invest in books, collectibles and so forth. You can invest in jewelry. But let's talk about the predominant one, which is securities. I'm not promoting this website. I'm just telling you that's an easy one to do. Robinhood, you go in there, you can put a $10, $20, buy a stock. It allows you to buy, stocks in different company. And we say just start out as a game. Say I'm going to put away $20, $30 every month and buy a stock. You'll be surprised while you're learning the principles, because that's the key. Never invest in anything that you don't understand. I'll repeat that. I find a lot of times clients have come to me, they lose a lot of money because they went into things that they really did not understand. And so even before going into the stocks, read upon it. Read on it, what it's all about. Read upon what the overview of that particular company that you want to get into. Do not get excited about the trend. A lot of people jump into trends. Stocks varies. You may want to do a more secure stock, like a blue chip stock. You might want to do a more risky stock, like Bitcoin was more risky 5 years ago, versus Amazon and so forth. So educate yourself. And then my last bit on investment, when you invest, make sure you're willing to lose every dime of it. I'll say that again. When you invest, because that's what investment is, there's no guarantee on the return. You're taking a risk. So be willing to lose every dime of what you put in. Don't cry, or else you're not an investor.
All right. So thank you for that. And I learned something. I learned something there too. And I'm thinking about going back to the topic of owning a home.
Right.
So a young person coming out of high school, maybe going to college, maybe not. Uh, you're hearing about the importance of purchasing a home. Could you talk about when to go into a apartment versus when to purchase a home? Think about purchasing a home.
Sure. I call them the 3 stars. If your credit score is not at par, 680 or above, you don't have that 5 or 10% down to put down, right? And you don't have that income requirement to buy a home. You pretty much put yourself in renting. But your goal now is to make those 3 stars line up. Get the cash that you need to put down, get your credit score up, and get the income that's required to buy a home. You put yourself on a timeline, maybe 2, 3, 4 years, but your main goal should be acquiring that home within that period of time, because renting doesn't build wealth. Buying a home does.
So it was cash, credit score, and
your income. So those
income.
are the 3 stars. I call them my 3 stars to line up. You got to have the cash down, whether it's 5, 10, or 3%. FHA allow you to put 3%, 5% down. A regular conventional 10%, you go a high 20%. Then you need a credit score above that 680 to get a better interest rate. And then last but not least, you need the income. If you're not making any money to pay the mortgage, you're just not going to get a home. And so you want to keep those 3 intact as much as possible. And believe it or not, they line up quicker than some people think. When you put work at it, and it doesn't take long. It can take easily 2, 3 years, and you're there. There's so many programs out there to even help you get into that. But shop around in every way, because there are also folks out there that try to make a money out of coffee and tell you things. So let's do a lot of shopping and compare notes.
All right. Well, we're getting close to the end of the program. But I have a couple more questions that I want to field to you.
Sure.
One of the things that I didn't know about was the importance of life insurance. So I just happened to be at church, and a gentleman who was one of the deacons at the church asked me at Sabbath dinner, do you have life insurance and things like that? No. I had heard of life insurance, but didn't really know what it meant. Could you talk about the importance of life insurance and what a young adult may need to be thinking about related to that?
Yeah, good question. I was once insured to sell life insurance and health and so forth. Life insurance in the market, it also builds wealth. That's number one, and it diminishes the possibility of putting a family in financial ruin. What do I mean by that? Say, for instance, the husband passed away, and your cost of living was $5,000 a month, and you had a debt of $100,000 and so forth. Well, and you had and the burial money. So those are the major 3 areas. And student, you can pop in education costs if you have young kids. Well, the person passes away. First of all, you don't have any money to bury the person. You start calling up neighbors and friends and family. That's very embarrassing.
Yeah.
Okay. Number 2, that $5,000 that used to support that home is gone. So the mother or father, whoever survived, may have to sell the home. Number 3, the kids were in school. You cannot afford a private school anymore, even public school. That standard of living fall. And so what you have actually done, the person passing away, I've moved the family from here to pretty much here and sometime lower. And it's harder to kind of dig out of that. I had an experience, a lady back in Texas. Thank God I was able to help her in a different way. But it not only brings a financial disaster, it also bring I would want to call it a social economic depression also within the family. And what do I mean by that? It puts them in a very struggling position to recover.
Yes.
Right. And that's stress. And
Oh,
sometimes people can't handle that.
Oh, definitely. So with that, I wanted to give you the opportunity to share anything that that you want to leave our audience with before we close out.
Awesome. Yeah, I would like to say one thing. Finance, money management is important, but as equally important is managing your time. You can get back money, you can work it back, but time you'll never get back. And you build wealth over time. So the time wasted in the first 5-6 years out of high school or college, I can delay. It only pushes your possibility of becoming more financial independent, becoming more debt free, and so forth and so on. So you want to be able to look at time and pretty much don't waste it. That's one of the greatest commodity that I believe we need to focus a lot on, in addition to financial. And sometimes we put it at the roadside as if we have a lot of it, which is not true. So for me, time is money.
Oh, definitely. So thank you for the wisdom that you shared. I believe that this is going to be so helpful to so many. I was referencing young people, but I'm sure there are others that will benefit from this knowledge. So how can people get in contact with you if they want to learn more from you? Yeah, please share.
No problem. I have a website. You can go on there. Is RMYCPL, you popped up great, .com, or you can call my office 410-779-9335. My secretary will answer and she'll schedule a meeting with you. And I'm more than happy to talk. And I just love working with young adults and adults also in this area, because my dream is that we do not have this psychological burden of finance on us, and it becomes very traumatic also as we move through life. So I'm here for you. Thanks a lot again, Doc. Appreciate being here.
Yes, thank you so much for the time that you've taken with us. This is our first episode, and we're thankful for your sharing this most important information to our community. I also want to highlight the vision of Minister Ronnie Vanderhorst. He was the individual that came up with this concept of Communiversity, and taking the information that we have as a community and sharing it. So instead of us keeping it as individuals, in particular in the community of people of faith, that we not just keep that information to ourselves, but share it with the broader community so that they can be empowered more broadly. And so we're thankful to have this platform. We also want to thank the North Pacific Union Regional Office of Regional Ministries for their investment in this initiative, and are excited about things to come. Dr. White, did you want to share something?
No, I just want to say thanks. I'm excited of this movement. I call it a movement because I realize it's going to be a powerful one, and I'm so excited for that. So I wish you all the blessings, and hopefully that I can come back again.
Most definitely. Thank you so much. And please be on the lookout for more programming. You can find additional programming on the Liberation Movement website, as you see below. You can also go to YouTube at Sidney Freeman Jr., where we will also be posting this information. And then on the Office of Regional Ministries webpage on the website of the North Pacific Union of Seventh-day Adventists. With that, be blessed, and you will hear from us soon.